We are resuming the school committee meeting, regular session, coming back from executive session for Thursday, June 20th, 2024. It's 7 o'clock on the nose, and we're back in regular session. It's the school committee for North Andover. I'd like to invite everyone to stand up and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And in light of the lack of air conditioning in the fan over here, we're all going to have to speak up a little bit today. So we'll try to use our best DJ voices. So we will begin with public comment. I think we have a few people here for public comment. Please approach, name and address, and off you go.
Okay. Barbara Simons, 25 Ironwood Road, North Andover. Hello. I've known Lisa and worked with her for about 25 years, and there are very few people that I can say was a consummate teacher. She did yoga in the class. She played the piano. She had fabulous shows. She loves kids. And Keith Morrison came to the Broad Street because she had the peanut allergy room when it was becoming national news. And just an extraordinary teacher. And I'll be out with her out to dinner, and kids will come up around their late 30s, and they say, "Hi, Mrs. Bernard," you know, so she really impacts everyone she has taught.
And just for the record, it's Lisa Bernard we're speaking of here, because you only said Lisa.
Yeah. What did you say? I can't hear him. Huh?
No, you just said Lisa. You just said Bernard.
Oh, Lisa. Oh, I'm sorry. Lisa Bernard.
Hi there. I'm Carol Hathaway. I'm at 148 Main Street, Sutton Pond, and I volunteered for 10 years in Lisa's classroom. It was absolutely a fantastic experience, all day, every day. It was wonderful. We had a lovely time. We really got a lot accomplished. She didn't have an aide at the time, and we did a lot of really good stuff. She's a wonderful human being, a wonderful teacher, very talented, very, very talented in art. She taught through art, which was lovely. She would. My job was to cut out little squares and stuff, just a little bit bigger than the pieces that the kids were going to need, and then she would give them patterns, but she wouldn't give them enough patterns for everybody to have their own. So they had to learn to share, they had to learn to trace, they had to learn to cut, they had to learn to put things together. It was fascinating to watch her. She was amazing. She is amazing. So anyway, that's me.
Thank you.
Maureen Landers, 28 Holbrook Road in North Andover. 2 of my children had Lisa as kindergarten teachers. I'll sum it up with this. When my daughter was getting her PhD, she got a text. "Congratulations" from Lisa Bernard.
Wow.
Because she never stops caring and doing what she can for the kids. She's the best, honestly. And one of my children was one of the peanut kids. And I'll never forget the day I said, "Lisa, would you take my son in the classroom?" Little did she know when she said yes, that she was going to become national news. But she did a fabulous job with those kids. All her kids, she does. She just did. Thank you for considering her.
All right, great, thank you. Thank you, all 3 of you, thank you for coming.
Thank you. Are we done?
All right,
We'll watch you on TV when we go home.
Okay.
Yeah.
We could.
Okay, thank
Yeah, we could. But first, before you do that, are there any other public comment tonight?
Wait like 3 minutes.
Okay. Oh, I see, yeah, gotcha.
Hi, my name is Mehak Sakla, and I reside at 8 Buckland Road. I was here in October previously alongside some of my classmates and my former teacher, Mr. McGravy, to discuss our Slick Pros. I'm still continuing mine even after finishing 8th grade. And mine's on student absences and excused absences and extensions on homework due to religious holidays. I believe all students should have a chance to celebrate a religious holiday with family without worrying about homework and school assignments. I worked on this project because I've faced problems due to this, and there's actually a policy existing, policy JH, which states students may be excused temporarily from school attendance for the following reasons, one of which being observance of major religious holidays. It's really minor, there's not much mention of it, but at that time I didn't know this policy, and I wasn't allowed to have an extension for a homework assignment when I was celebrating the holiday Diwali with my family. So I've worked to help make sure that all students can have a chance to celebrate these holidays. Because some holidays, such as Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah, all teachers know that they shouldn't assign homework and students can have excused absences on those days. But some other holidays, such as Diwali, Chinese New Year, Eid, teachers are less aware of. And I hope to raise awareness and let students and teachers all know about this issue. I've worked to write a sample policy that I hope the chair and the rest of the people will listen to and hopefully adopt. And some of it states any student who misses class, review, or an exam for religious reasons will be offered an opportunity to make up the work without penalty. I understand that students can misuse this policy, so it should be that students would have to bring in a notification in writing which states the accommodation being requested, the religious practice or belief that the student is observing, and dates on which the student will be absent or will not be able to complete the assignment. I know that if you talk to your guidance counselor in the high school or talk to the main office, they might be able to allow you to have a religious absence, but sometimes teachers don't know of this. So I had met with Mr. Hicks and Miss Lathrop, and they loved my idea, and Miss Lathrop also started writing a policy of some sorts, and I know she also talked to a lot of teachers and the principals in both the middle and high school to make this issue more aware of, but I'm hoping all teachers and the principal can know about this issue before the next school year starts. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Okay, and would you like to?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I was wondering if we could move old business, the second read and vote on the Educator Hall of Fame up to now so that we can allow the wonderful public speakers to hear and see the results of their efforts.
Sounds good to me. I think we need to vote to move it, or I can just say it's so.
No, you can move it at your discretion.
All right, I'll move. I will so do.
Well then, Mr. Chair, I move that the school committee accept the nomination of one Lisa Bernard and place her into the Educator Hall of Fame.
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. And it's our second read. Does anybody have any discussion? Other further discussion?
I had a great opportunity to sit with the other members of the committee and read wonderful letters on her behalf, but I thank you so much to the people who came for public comment to give a little bit more texture to that, and to really let the public know how wonderful of a teacher Ms. Bernard was and the contributions she made to our community.
Very quickly, I can share that I was a first grade teacher in North Andover 100 years ago, and I always was thrilled when students came from Lisa Bernard's class into my classroom because I knew they were prepared and ready to be at first grade. So it was, there were many wonderful teachers at Bradstreet, but you were always lucky when you had a Lisa Bernard student in your classroom.
All right. Well, very good. My children did not have her, but they did pretty well anyway. And I do remember that that school was fantastic. It was a wonderful place. The one on Main Street, which was what you're talking about, right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, sure. But since we're reminiscing, I was referring to that old one. All right. So I think we're ready to vote. So we'll go around. Mr. Hicks?
Yes.
Ms. Cormier?
Yes.
Mr. Moskowitz?
Yes.
And Ms. Koenig?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Congratulations to Lisa Bernard. And thank you very much for coming and speaking on her behalf. All right. Any other public comment? Okay. We don't have any recognition tonight?
Not really, other than, this is recognition. I just want to take a minute and recognize our staff for the incredible work that they did this school year, that it has been a challenging school year, but despite that, our staff continued to work very hard, pitched in where needed be, helped us with our deficit this year, continued to do good things for kids. It has been the last few weeks was really heartwarming, going around and seeing different people and seeing the kids. And I think our kids didn't skip a beat in terms of the education that they were provided this school year. So in the close of our school year, I want to recognize our staff from our, everybody, our custodial staff, our kitchen staff, our teaching assistants, our classroom teachers, people in this office, secretaries. Everyone has worked really hard and really appreciate it.
Right, and I'll second that, and I did write a memo to the staff. Hopefully it did go out. I believe it did. Personal memo for essentially saying the same things, how much we appreciate all the work all the staff have done, everybody for NAPS. So echo that appreciation. Anyone else want to make a comment?
I would just, I don't know, third that. I mean, it's been obvious over the past couple of weeks, seeing all of the information, and whether it's through social media or hearing from other parents and students about all the closing of the year activities that went on, whether it was fun runs or field days, class picnics, the laughter and giggles and everything that was driven by the teachers and the administrators of every single one of those schools that made that happen. The students, they had a fantastic year, and it ended on such a high note, despite the teachers going through and the administrators going through this difficult time. So it's obvious the professionals that we have in this district and how much they do for our kids. So just thank you.
And I would just like to add, we had a strategy to reduce our payroll by doing the buyout, which financially was successful, but also it means a lot of people have made the decision to leave our district, who have been here for a number of years, some longer than others. Some are officially retiring, some are just moving on, which is also sad. Happy that they're making the choice and they're pursuing something different in their life, whether it be retirement or a different career or whatever it is, but it's also sad for us to see people leave our district. And I just want to thank them for the time that they spent here in North Andover and the things that they did for our students, because they were important to educating our students, and I wish them well in whatever comes next.
All right. Any further comments? All good things. Okay. And I similarly wish all those folks well. Some of them I know real well, actually. Okay, consent agenda. First, we have the minutes from May 14th. Well, I guess we could vote on them together, 14th and 16th, that are linked. Does anybody need a minute?
23rd are there as well.
23rd, yeah, we do have those.
Yep.
They're just not linked to the agenda.
They will be later.
Yep.
So I move that we accept the agenda meetings for May 14th, May 16th, and May 23rd, 2024.
I'll second.
All right. Does anybody need a minute to quickly check them? I looked at them already. Everybody good? Ed, you need a minute to review them? Okay. All right. If there's no discussion, we can vote. I'll go this way. Alyssa?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, so the minutes are approved, May 14th, 16th, and 23rd. And then we have some grants / donations to the district. The first one is the Learning Acceleration Network.
Right, so I think Mr. Grant will click on these, just hopefully it'll pop up. But we applied for two programs through the Department of Education. One is the Learning Accelerated Network, which will focus on math for us, and the other was Tiered Literacy Academy. There are no financial gains to either one of these grants or programs that we were accepted into, but they do provide us with a nice chunk of coaching for both our administrators and our staff, and working with us as we roll out our curriculum. So this is the Learning Accelerated Network. It shows you some of the goals, and it's very similar for the Tiered Literacy Academy. We also applied for what is similar, comparable to this, for the social emotional learning. And it was funny, Desi reached out to us today and said, do you know that you have applied for all three of these things, and that takes a lot of work? And so we assured them that we had 3 different people that would be overseeing. So, Ben Cabrera will be working on the Learning Accelerated Network. Kristen Ando will be working on the Tiered Literacy Academy, and Michelle O'Leary will be working on the social emotional, if we are lucky enough to receive that as well.
It's just that one page.
Yes, just that one page.
And when you say no financial gains or losses, right?
No
It's
financial,
no financial
gains or losses,
impact.
but we're not creating members, but we are getting expertise and getting some opportunities to
Right.
work with them to work on coaching in our schools, which is great.
And Ms. Lathrop, when it says districts must have HQIM selected, we have met that. That's our Witten for literacy.
Wit and Wisdom for literacy, and we have Eureka currently for math, but we are piloting Eureka Squared, and both meet HQMI.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for grants and donations.
All right, very good.
Do we vote to accept those?
Oh,
They're not really money.
It's not really money, it's more just a point of
Okay.
information.
Thank you.
Okay, next, student reports. And we want to welcome, I'm drawing a blank.
Law.
Louine is here for the first time. Welcome.
Hello.
You want to give us give the whole committee a 2-second or a 2-minute introduction?
My name is Louine Ismail. I'm a rising 11th grader, and I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to talk about the school and represent everything.
Fantastic. And
Yeah.
you have a cohort named Allie, right, who's not here tonight?
Yeah, she's not here tonight. She had a...
She's seeing Lana Del Rey.
Oh, well. Lana Del Rey School Committee, come on.
Legit more important.
All I think about is the stickers.
I guess we'll give her a pass. Yeah. So, I'm sorry, please continue. Is that, that's your brief bio? And you're a
Yeah,
rising
that's it.
junior? All right, excellent.
concise.
Well, welcome. We're a fun group. I think we do value the feedback we're getting. Harper and Cece have been doing a great job, so they're happy to be joined by you.
All right.
We'll see you, in the fall.
Good
Cece?
evening. So on the last Wednesday of school at the high school, Student Council held Battle of the Lays. So on the Tuesday before, we were selling them to students so students could buy their favorite teachers' lays, like, the flower lay necklaces. They're very cute. And so it's like a competition of which teacher could get the most lays. And then on Wednesday, we actually held
Won.
I think there was a tie.
It was a tie.
Lots of teachers tied.
Yeah. It was very tight. And then on Wednesday, the next day, we sold the lays to students so they can buy them for themselves because they were very swaggy. And a lot of people loved them. And that day was also Student Council's beach/vacation spirit day. So Student Council decorated the school with a bunch of vacation-y decorations. And we also gave out freeze pops to all the students at the end of the day, which was very nice because it was hot. 8th grade graduations were held on Monday, with each team holding their own graduation. Some high school students attended to see their younger family. My sister just graduated 8th grade, actually, but I didn't get to go. I had a test, but but very happy for her. She's very excited for high school, and I know a lot of other 8th graders were. Special Olympics was held on the last Friday of school. I was luckily able to attend during one of my classes to go and support. It was amazing. Everyone did so great. It was such a fun day, nice weather, such a blast. AP contracts and AP class meetings were held on the last 2 weeks of school. They were nice. AP contracts were due sometime last week.
Friday at 2 p.m.
Oh yeah, Friday at 2 p.m.
Okay.
They were due at Friday at 2 p.m. And so hopefully everyone got their AP contract signed. I think I did. Everyone had a decent end of year. It was actually a blast. I really enjoyed this year, and I know a lot of other people did. And we're all super ready for summer break. Principal Jackson announced he's leaving his principal position at North Andover High School, and all the high school students are very sad to hear his departure. We're very sad, but we're wishing him the best, and he was great. He was very supportive. He was just such a great principal, so we're sad to see him go, but we know he's going to do amazing things in his next path. And the student population at the high school has expressed unease regarding the upcoming school year. Students have found the lack of knowledge and information about the administrative situation in the district a little disheartening and a little scary because of the lack of information flow, and students aren't really sure what's happening, how it's going to affect their next school year or future school years at the district.
Also, last week, 8th grade move-up day happened with student ambassadors leading tour groups around the high school for the rising freshmen. Move-up day also included a Q&A portion where students could learn more about the high school and ask any questions they had. Sargent and Thompson had field days last week with students participating in fun games and activities. And track nationals happened with Gabby Hardy, Nicole Kroon, Hannah Shea, and Erica Wojcik finishing 5th in the relay and setting a new school record. Many classes had some end-of-year parties and had students bring in food and play some games. It was a lot of fun. And graduated seniors in the Drama Guild did a production of Into the Woods Junior on Monday. They had 24 hours to cast, rehearse, and perform it. It was a lot of fun. There were lots of laughs and lots of chaos. And yeah.
All right, we had the Summer Coffee House last Friday with a number of entertaining musical performances. It was about 3 hours long, and it was just a really nice vibe. I personally went. There was food. Everyone was really sweet and kind, and it was really fun to see your friends perform. Also, for our last tidbit of information, Semester 2 final grades will be available tomorrow at 2 p.m. for all students to see.
Everyone waiting with bated breath.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. Any comment? That's great report, guys. Really excellent. Appreciate that.
I do have a question. So, with you as the student representatives for the school committee, I was just wondering, how are you nominated or picked to be here? Because this is fantastic. I'm just wondering why is it the three of you? How does that happen?
For at least Cece and I, Ben had recommended the two of us to Mr. Jackson when he had asked, and then I think Mr. Jackson had asked Mr. Meehan, and then also us kind of who we were recommending, and we came up with the names, obviously Louine and Allie. We tried to make sure we were choosing uprising juniors so that when we graduated there weren't like all new people, but yeah.
Yeah, and I want to say, like, as someone that got nominated this year, it was I had like a clear heads up way earlier in the year. Ben talked to me. He was like, you know, what do you think about this opportunity? We're considering you for it. And I thought it was just very, very clear, concise, and really nice to hear from someone. So I hope to do that too once it's my turn to pass it on to someone else.
And then also with that, we tried to make sure that with the people we were nominating, that we were in a number of different groups so that it wasn't just like the same two clubs being represented the whole time.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So it's you nominate, as you see, there's room for on the committee nominating and then working with a high school principal to kind of lock in on the right members. Great. Thank you.
Welcome, Louine. Great to have you here. I shared this with the two ladies last week, and I want to share it with you. I love hearing all the wonderful things that are happening, and we also want to know how students are feeling about things too, and that's really important to us. So as you're like compiling your list every week, continue to do the things you're doing, and that is also really important information for us to hear, so we really understand what the experience is like at the high school. And as much as you can learn about the other schools, and we want to try and figure that out, the challenge is how do we get the other voices for the little ones here at the table too, because I want that to be your job as well.
Yes.
So I'm repeating it so that you have the opportunity to hear that. The ladies already knew that. And then what's an AP contract?
When students take an AP class, they have to sign kind of a contract that says that they'll uphold, like, that they know what they're getting into and like the work that they'll have to put into it, and that by I believe August 1st you can't drop out of the class anymore, and you're kind of locked into the class, so that, and you're kind of signing it saying I'm aware of this and like all the expectations of the class.
Does that include taking the AP test?
You don't have to take the AP test for every AP you take. I took AP Pre-Calc this past year and I didn't take the exam. Some teachers, like at the AP Stats meeting, Miss Flanagan had said that she kind of expects all students to take it because her job is to prepare us for it. So some teachers have different expectations regarding that.
Thank you. And are all three of you taking APs-ish? Have you signed your contracts for?
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
How many? Well, assuming you did, how many different APs are we taking?
I'm taking 3.
I'm taking 5.
Whoa!
That's crazy. It's a lot of APs, Louise.
5 in your junior
I mean,
year?
that's wonderful.
I didn't know you could take that many next year.
Is that 5 all year long? That is 5 all year long, right?
Yeah.
Junior.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't know juniors could take that many APs.
I got a couple friends also taking 5.
Well,
And what 5 are these?
AP Chem to start my morning off. Then I have AP Comp Sci. Then I have CSP, Calc BC, Push, or A Push. And then I have Spanish, but that's honors. And then I have, what's the last one? Lang. So yeah.
what was the last one?
Lang, AP Lang.
AP language. It's an LA one. What was the, after the computer science, what was the one after that?
Calculus BC.
What's PC?
BC.
There's
two
different
there's
calculus.
two levels of
classes, yeah.
Oh, it's just
It's the next level in calculus.
so like,
So
I'm
it
a
goes-
math
Yeah,
major.
Calc
I'm all about
BC, I
the
believe,
math.
has 2 more topics that Calc AB does not have.
So it's just a different calc. Okay.
Yeah, you take AB and then you take BC.
Okay. They didn't have that one.
Right. Or you take
I was
BC
hoping-
and then take
You
AB.
could
We
choose
both
which
did
one.
AP
'Cause
pre-calc,
BC
and then I
covers
think
AB.
yeah. Although I think we
And
were
then
kind of only given the option of BC since we took
yeah.
AP pre-calc.
That's
So.
all right.
Does this mean that when you get to college, you don't have to take calculus in their freshman year?
Well,
Maybe.
it's.
I think it
it's
depends on the school
Depends on
because
the
some
school.
schools take credit for it if you do well enough on the test, but not all schools do.
Right, and some schools will put you in an advanced course that's like
Mhm.
partly, you're part of the way there already, but you're not skipping it.
Every school is different in how
Yeah.
they use AP credits. The one thing it does for students across the board, though, is on the application,
Yeah.
it makes you more
Competitive.
competitive. What they then do with it when you're there, who knows? So,
Excellent.
wow, that's a lot of APing. So that's good for you all.
Crazy.
Yeah, and doing
You
this
better
as
start
well.
getting
Yeah,
to
I was gonna
work.
let
You should
them
leave
know.
now and go get some work on that.
I want to add
Lots
one
of summer
comment.
work.
Some of the feedback you give us, right, that we don't always immediately have an answer for you, but that doesn't mean we're not listening. So, for instance, the concern about the administration, I just want
Yeah.
to say, like, it's good for us to hear that. It may not always be obvious to you that we heard it and that we're considering it, but we do, because we usually let you guys go as soon as you've spoken, right? But it is, keep bringing that. That is important. I appreciate it.
I was going to say something very similar and just encourage you or invite you to stay for an extra few minutes just to hear a couple of the things that I want to share in my superintendent's report that might sort of answer some of that question a little bit and give you some bits of information, but certainly not stay for it all because it's hot and it's summer.
I'd love to stay and listen.
All right,
I'm definitely interested in learning more. 'Cause
All right, yeah, you're always welcome. So, all right.
And-
Anything further?
I just wanted to, add on to that. So as you raise the hard things, right, as we're asking to bring forward the hard things too, which are, thank you for doing that, because that is certainly much more challenge. At least it's more challenging for me. So I'm saying, it could be more challenging you to talk about. Also, if you have ideas on what we should be doing or what would help, it'd be great to hear, and on any types of things, as you have solutions, whether we do it here or we do it somewhere, just kind of hearing those and what the feedback that you're getting would be very welcome and helpful. So thank you for doing that.
And I was going to add to that too, because I know one of the things Ben had mentioned before he left is maybe allowing you guys to get a little bit more involved in things. So I know we are looking into doing maybe doing a finance subcommittee, doing a committee on special education review. So if those are things that you may be interested in participating in, you're always welcome to participate in any other subcommittees that we have going on. We'd love input and perspective from all of you.
And that's well within the rules of our policy and the spirit of why we have student representatives, that participation in your opinion on those things matter. You might not get to vote on them, but your participation in them matters.
Your viewpoint and perspective
Yep.
is key.
Okay, I think it's time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Feel
you.
free to stay for a
But
few
by
minutes.
all
if you'd
means,
like.
stay.
Stay
and
there.
I think you heard that there's some good stuff coming, so
Oh, no, that's good stuff.
go ahead. Thank you.
Thanks. So just moving into the superintendent's report, and I'm going to take this a little bit out of order, just to have an opportunity to share a few things. I want to start by saying, Cece, what you said is not the first time I've heard that in terms of students wanting to have a voice in some of the decisions and students feeling concerned about, especially at the high school, students feeling concerned about sort of what's next. What does this mean for us? And in the same light as students saying to us, we would like to hear a little bit more. I have heard from families in the community that they have felt a little blindsided, or they have felt a little bit like information has come quickly and not necessarily an opportunity to hear. And I've heard from our bargaining units the same thing, that some things have moved too quickly and there hasn't been opportunity to have input from our teachers union or our secretaries union or our teaching assistant units, and none of them are wrong. And we recognize that. I guess I wanted to start tonight by saying, our apologies to our students and our staff and our families, because that's not the way that one would want to do business, right? That's not the practice. The practice should be that we're one community that's working really hard and inclusionary together. I think we've had a unique situation this year where sort of two things have been going on at once. One, we've had a deficit that we've had to deal with and had to work really hard in order to close that deficit to the best of our ability, and we'll talk about that a little bit later when you're home doing something fun. And then we've also had to prepare for the next year And when that happens, it's sort of like when you don't quite have enough money to pay this month's bills, the reality is next month's bills are going to come, and you may not have enough money for that either. So if I sort of equate FY24 to FY25, so moving at a rapid pace, it is not something that we would ever want to do or want to continue doing. And it's not something that, it's not lost on me that we did not, and I don't think it's lost on the committee that we did not get as much input from people that we would have liked to be able to get input from. And so I think moving forward, we want to assure our students and our families and our teachers that this isn't a precedent that we're setting. You mentioned that Mr. Jackson has announced that he is moving on to a new position. It is late in the school year to be hiring a new high school principal. Typically, these are things that take a long amount of time. I want us to be able to do that right. So what I will recommend to the committee, and we'll talk about, and what will be posted, is an interim high school principal, which will allow us the opportunity to go to student council, to have student groups meet with us next year. Tell us, what's your input? What would you like to see at the high school? Allow teachers that same opportunity. Allow families and community members really getting input. Then when we go to post that position, it really is crafted based on what people are looking for our community. And it also gives us the opportunity to plan financially for that position. Because it's a position that has a lot of responsibility, and with responsibility, you should be compensated appropriately for that position, and we'd need to plan for that. But I worry, and I think my worry is coming to fruition, because you say that you're feeling a little left out, teachers are feeling left out, and parents are feeling left out. So I want to assure the community that's not our plan for going forward, sort of making these rapid fire decisions. And so our goal is to go back to the high school and listen and hear what you're interested in. And the same thing for other kinds of positions that we have. This is an opportunity for us to really get the voice of the students and the voice of the community. We have a special education director position that we're in the process of filling as well. That process, to me, seemed to be moving rather quickly and not giving us an opportunity to really hear from the community. What would you like to see in our next executive director for special education? So being thoughtful. So it's hard having a year of interims, but moving forward that way, and then being thoughtful and having some opportunities to be able to do that. So I wanted you to hear that, so that you knew that sort of was our plan going forward. And I want you and the community to know it didn't fall on deaf ears. We do apologize for moving fast and quickly with some, and hopefully the decisions we've made were in the best interest of our students and our schools. But also knowing that, I think Mr. Hicks said, we did the volunteer incentive program. But what does that look like? So what does that mean to you as high school students? Like, what's not going to be at your school next year because we had to make some hard choices? And I'm not sure if this is the right committee meeting, but next year, but I will say there will be some of those things. So, for instance, we have a math teacher that's retiring at the high school. We won't fill that position because that will be one of the things that will help us. Now, Mr. Jackson and his leadership team has been able to work really hard to be able to offer the same courses to our students, but that will be a loss that we will see. We'll have half of a wellness teacher won't be in that position next year at the high school. I'm just trying to think what else in high school. We are looking at the science department and doing some reorganization there to be able to. We had somebody who may have participated in VSIP or a position there to looking at that. So what the work that the leaders, the administrators are doing in the district, and it's in the letter that I shared in the nightly news, is reorganization with the intention of not making the program so you can't get the courses that you want, but it's still a loss to the district, and knowing that. So that's really the piece I wanted you to hear. You're welcome to stay for anything else. So, that said, I just, and Cece said it for us, our high school principal did resign, and that would be my recommendation, that we move forward with posting an interim position, still having the opportunity to look for who might be in the best position for that, but gives us a chance to be really thoughtful and, as I said, plan financially moving forward. I had an opportunity to meet with the CPAC leaders this week to talk to them about the special education position, and they're going to invite me. We're going to put a forum together, maybe next week or the week after, to be able to speak to the community and talk to them about our thoughts of also having an interim special education director for 1 year, to give us the opportunity to really hear from the people, and again, to plan financially for what we believe we should be able to do. And I want to just, recognize that there are other positions. I talked to them because they're the high school students that were here. But we have math interventionists, and we have 2.5 math interventionists in our district. We won't be bringing those positions back next year. We have math coaches. They're a little trickier because they were positions that actually didn't make it into the FY25 budget, but they are also not positions that will be moving forward. We're putting a pause on that, and you may ask, so why the big hit to math? We are in a review of our math, and we are rolling out Eureka Squared, and what the data showed us is that we were not utilizing the math coaches. So and the math coaches did a terrific job. And I don't want anyone to think that they didn't do a terrific job. They had great evaluations, and they are strong people. Sometimes you can roll out something too soon, and our math coaches, in my opinion, came on board right sort of as COVID hit. We had a new director, and the data isn't showing that we are using them as effectively as we could, and we need to do a little bit of education in terms of what's the role of the coach. I think that's why some of these programs from DESE are going to be really helpful with us to help roll out what coaching looks like, so that we can have an understanding, so that we're utilizing them a little bit better. And the math interventionists were positions that were brought into the district during COVID and made sense. But they weren't in all the schools, so there were some equity issues in that. We have been really lucky to we received a grant this past year, for math intervention work from DESE, where they brought in people. We selected our students, but we worked with a company that DESE chose, and we were able to do math intervention work with students, and we've applied, and it looks like we have reason to believe that we're going to receive it again next year, and bringing on more schools to be able to provide that. But I think it's important that people understand that those positions, and that's what I talked about in the letter to the families too, and I don't want people to think that everything is going to be, it's not exactly the same, right? And I will, for either the July meeting or another meeting, I certainly can provide a presentation for you so that you see what that all looks like in terms of the positions that aren't coming back. So that aside from it, I also did want to just echo, I said it in the recognitions, but there were wonderful things that happened in our schools. Arts and academic nights, field days, fun runs, middle school class day, grade 5 celebrations. They had celebrations for the retirees or people not returning back to schools. It's been a joyful week sort of walking through. But I went into I did try very hard to get to all of the schools and at least have an opportunity to thank all of our retirees. So if they were here, I think I was able to see them on the last day. But I was at the middle school, and it was looking very different because they are packed. You don't typically see a school that's packing up the way the middle school teachers were packing up, because they are doing the shifting in the different phases, and to see what the middle school was doing. So that's that, sort of taking that out of order.
Question on
Yeah.
that? I've been meaning to ask you for this anyway.
Yeah.
And like an org chart would be really, I think, helpful
Tell me
for us.
what you mean by an org chart.
So like a picture of the whole district, but in particular central office.
Okay.
Who
does what?
Who does what?
Who
and
reports to
and
who?
Who reports to who? And then if you can expand it out, and maybe Michelle can put that together.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to
No,
be you, but-
absolutely. I think other people have talked about that too,
Yeah.
a little bit. And right now it's a little gray.
Well, there can be a lot of empty boxes, but the positions are
well,
there,
yes,
right?
and like
Yeah.
just people are picking up different things. But yes, I think that would be really helpful, and helpful for people to know who to go to. When I was talking to CPAC today, I said it wouldn't necessarily be my purview, right? To either in my role as assistant superintendent or acting superintendent, we were talking about programs and like different things about special education, but that would be, you would talk to a special education director about those pieces. So sort of who to go to for what.
Yeah, I
kinds of
think it'd be
things.
really helpful, and
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
us, for sure, but I think for other people too.
And I think it could be helpful too for parents knowing, like, sort of even when they have a concern. So what we want parents, and it's not that I'm not willing to listen to parents, but when a parent sends me an email or a family member or a community member, I always say to them, this sounds like I would like to direct you back to the principal. Have you had an opportunity to talk to the principal of that school about that situation? And, you know, and I would include the principal on that email and saying, I'd ask you to start there, and then if not, come back to me. And a principal would most likely, if they receive that, say, have you gone to the classroom teacher? I'd like to direct you to the classroom teacher, and then come to me. But I think if we sort of spelled that out, it would help families know that that's what we do. You go to the, that's what we teach kids too. When you're mad at your friend, you don't go to your other friend to tell them, you go to that friend and you talk it out, right? Or you try to resolve. And so that makes sense.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Could I just comment that
Yes.
just because you necessarily had to do this quickly doesn't mean that it wasn't thoughtful. And listening
Thank you
to
for saying that. I appreciate that.
No, it's clear that you've given it a lot of thought.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it.
I do. I appreciate that very much, and I'm glad that it hopefully came out that way. But it's not who I said I was when I came to this district, and I want to make sure that people understand it's not who I would be moving forward in whatever role I'm in.
Not wrong and also necessary. Basically, the position that these quick decisions were necessary.
Yeah. But, from the other side, you can feel for how
Oh, yeah.
students are
Oh,
feeling,
yeah,
right?
right.
How teachers are
Absolutely.
feeling, and things are changing, and change is uncertainty, and that's what makes
Absolutely.
people feel uneasy. And I've been around long enough to, as my mother would say, know better. And do better, is what she would say. Just want to also let you know that we signed a contract with SEAM Collaborative. SEAM, for our transportation, SEAM is a collaborative we belong to with other districts. It gives us a discounted rate on things like special education vans, wheelchair vans, mini buses, and things like that. As a cohort, we have moved forward with our SEAM contract.
Is that, are we contracting with them this year as well, or is this a new development?
No, we've always been contracting with them.
This is a renewal, not a new.
So,
Correct.
Thank you.
one of the reasons that we have collaboratives is because, and we're in a sense part owners, right?
Mhm.
You sit on the board, so it's a way of getting more service more efficiently by doing it that way.
It has been great. So this year, we're going to be able to send some teachers to a training. It sort of falls under Wilson, so if you know about specialized reading, so it's a program that will really help us look at spelling and word work in the upper grades. But we're able to send, I think, 5 to 7 teachers that I wouldn't be able to afford on my own, but because we're collaborating with other districts, our portion is much smaller than it would be if I brought somebody here to be able to do that. We're also training, I think, 3 more special education teachers in Wilson because we belong to the SEAM Collaborative, and we have a consultant that works with us as part of SEAM Collaborative that we wouldn't be able to afford her, an inclusion specialist that we get as part of SEAM Collaborative as well. Lots of other stuff. And then, do you have a question?
Ask a question,
Yeah, go
but
ahead.
You can tell me to be quiet. When we send teachers out to do those trainings, because doing the Wilson training is time-consuming, great, amazing PD, is there the expectation that then if we are paid for that training for them, that they will then be assigned to do that work in our schools?
Correct. Right. It takes a while to become Wilson certified, but it will get them into the first stage. But yes, so we'll get them the kit, the materials that they need, and they'll be essentially piloting that. They're agreeing to do that work.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What does SEAM stand for? Special education?
I don't know.
No, okay.
It just says SEAM Collaborative. You know,
Sorry, I
sometimes
didn't mean
it
to,
says it
I
on
didn't mean
here.
to do a trick question, sorry.
Creating successful
There are a whole
futures.
bunch of them, they all have initials.
Yeah, I know,
There's
there's a
CREST,
lot to
there's
add.
Another one.
Yeah, we're acronym heavy.
Yeah, I don't
That's
know.
fine, sorry.
Sorry.
I-
It's okay. All right, budget update. Mr. Grant, you want to click on that for me?
Is that this one?
That is that one. So this one is just a little bit confusing. I did put in your packet
Just this
my
one?
world. I did put in your packet one that's a little bit clearer. So just to help everybody understand this, can you scooch it over this way a little bit?
This
Nope,
way?
the other way.
Other way?
There we go. Great. So what you're seeing here is maintenance, so expenses, salaries, so we're running okay there. So what we've encumbered, we're doing okay. Then you look at regular education, expenses and salaries, we're in a deficit in our salaries. So we have a deficit in regular education in all, negative $782,554.28. Then you look at special education. So again, we're continuing to run a deficit in our salaries there. And so we have a grand total on this one that you're looking at. It's $686,225.18. But we also have not yet, we still have $38,636 in overtime that we haven't paid, and we are projecting another $60,000 when we get the last bits of timesheets and extra hours.
I'm sorry, is this FY24 or 25?
FY24.
Oh.
FY24,
Okay.
yep.
Thank you.
So that brings us at a deficit of $748,861.18. That you don't see there. So that what I did is we added the 686 with the 38 and the 60 to get you to 748,861.18. We still have 10% from the town that's coming to us, $179,809.12. So I deducted that from the 748. So right now I'm projecting a deficit of $652,006. Sorry.
I feel like the decimals are off from that last one. Oh, it's on this
So
one.
it's on this sheet. If you look at your sheet, I fixed it on this one. So
Thank
you
you.
all have the corrected sheet.
Okay. Yeah, because that's at 6 million. I was.
Sorry.
6 million.
Yeah, so what happened is that red number shouldn't be there. So basically, for people at home, I took this and you add this and then you subtract this.
Well, let's get, so 686, it's about 100 more, 98.
Yeah, it's 100, yep.
Gonna do the math
So
on the
that would
fly.
be 786
Sorry.
less 180, right, basically?
So our deficit now is
605.
605.
605, that makes
And I
sense.
think the last update we had, the Amazon money toward
We-
that deficit.
Has come in and we've now used it.
So that's after the Amazon,
Mhm.
it's still the
Correct. The
605.
only money that we're still waiting to receive is the 10% from the town.
And we've taken that. We're assuming, we know we're getting that. So
Correct.
the 605 is
So-
students bringing
So
up.
the 605 is likely where we finish.
Well, we still have a few more things that might, we'll offset. If there's any other journal entries we can do, we'll look at the last bits of grants as things come in. So, but I'm thinking,
So what happens?
What
Yeah, what do we do?
happened?
So
What do we
like
do?
that might
Cost-
come down a little
well, I think that we share this with the town manager, and she, we have been transparent. We've met with her, and Lynn has been, Lynn Savage has been running the numbers, and she has made, I think, the select board and the finance board, and I do think that to get to zero was going to be very hard. We were at, 3 million. The town will say that, maybe an overall 5 million overage to get to this place. I think, we will work with the town, hopefully, to recoup that. We'll have to meet again. What I didn't say when I was talking earlier, and I meant to, was that we have been very fortunate. Melissa Rodriguez, our town manager, and Lynn Savage, the accountant, have been very supportive and working with us and helping us to, readjust and recalibrate. But as I have said before, we are still running a school district. And one of the things that we're doing sort of moving forward, and that's what's tricky, is that you'll see special education continues to sort of lead us in a deficit. So we've already started to meet so Lynn O'Neill is currently working as a consultant in that, because Marcy has, Marcy Barcuzzi will finish out in June, but she had vacation time that she's using. And Lynn is working with us, and so we've already set up a system for, tracking our out-of-district, tracking our tuition. We're meeting with Allison, and I'm going to say her last name wrong, but she's our out-of-district coordinator, and looking at her costs. We'll have monthly meetings set up so that we can project when if something is going to come up with a student, we can prepare for it and have that. I have some other numbers. I'll just answer this, and then I have a little bit of other numbers that I can share with you. If there's anything else here.
So I think this is implicit in what you said. the expenses, at this point, there's not going to be a reduction in expenses. This is what they're going to be. And if it's less, it's because some revenue pops up, not because of
Revenue, or we're
expenses.
able to look at, we're still a couple of grants we're holding
Oh.
on to, so there's a couple other journal entries or some offsets that we can make. Is that under?
Yeah, then, yeah.
So how do I'm just trying to reconcile in my mind how we get this to zero. Like, are we going to have to borrow from FY20? I don't even know if we can do that. Do we?
Can't borrow from
do we sell
FY25. We're
some
going to
desks?
have
I don't
to.
know.
We're going to have to talk to the town manager and share, and then see. I don't know exactly. I think that there's lots.
Yeah.
You know, I know that we go back to the FinCom, and I know that she's been talking to her boards as well, and knowing where we are. But we are probably still going to end the year in a deficit.
Is this different than what we would have seen a month ago?
A month ago, I think we were in the millions still.
Yeah, I think it's come down.
Right, but then there was this plan, I thought, that was going to close it.
But you found
All
more.
the plans were hoping to close it, but the problem is that it's not that we found, it's like that, yes, we knew those children, it was that maybe we hadn't accounted for them, or we knew the money wasn't there, right? So it was, or we got a bill that we weren't anticipating. So we had a student that went to like maybe a 45-day placement for evaluation. For whatever reason, we didn't account for that. And then the bill shows up now. They've been there for a couple of, for X amount of time, but the bill is here now. And they're also going to recommend an extended stay because that evaluation needs to continue. So we're going to have to pay for that bill.
And some of the work that we've done has also been about fiscal year 25. Like, you've been trying to solve two different problems.
Yeah.
We're solving
Yes.
two different
Yes.
problems at the same time, which makes it challenging,
Yeah.
which is sort of why, some things got lost in the shuffle, or communication definitely got lost in the shuffle.
Surprisingly little under the circumstances.
So does the town manager know about the 600?
Yes.
Okay, so the town manager knows, so even transparently
Transparent, they run our
communicating it.
numbers every day.
Okay. So-
We run our numbers with them. We will continue to meet. There are some, we will continue to look. Our goal would be, but, I think realistically, I think I have said that, somewhere between 4 and 8 is where,
We're going to land.
Yeah.
Where we're going to land.
So then because I just remember the town manager talking about, particularly I think it was at town meeting, is that we can't have a deficit. So there has to,
Right, so there's some implications.
there's implications
in
back to the town.
The town's
There are. I would-
finances, because ultimately,
Yeah,
my
we
understanding
can't
is
have a
ultimately the
deficit.
town has to pay these bills.
Yes.
To Alyssa's point, I don't think that the school department can reach into next year's money to
Mm-mm.
pay
Right.
this year's
No.
bills. So what has to, this part I'm guessing at, but I
Yeah.
think what has to happen is the town has to cover this essentially. And there are ramifications to that, right? And some of them are ugly.
Yep.
Well, I can say is that everybody's worked very hard to try to zero it out, and it's probably not going to happen. And we're going to have to absorb those hits, and some of them are terrible. And I know that, I do know the town manager, I'm sure, is doing everything that she can with her staff to try
Absolutely.
to minimize
Yep.
that impact
Yeah, but
in whatever way she can. But the bottom line is,
There'll be
we're going to finish
impacts.
below
Yeah.
zero. And I'm not sure that Ms. Lathrop can really
Yeah,
do
can't
anything
answer-
more about
No,
that.
you can't answer that, yeah.
Right.
Right.
So-
Yep.
We'll know, right? So it's June 20th. We still have a little bit more, and Tracy will be working now, so we get the last. I think 60 is a little high, so we're hoping that number doesn't come in quite at 60 in terms of that's extra hours. So that would be like noon attendance, any long-term subs, any substitutes, anybody that's had to work over their allotted time. So usually the end of the school year, that comes in a little better. So we tried to aim high, hoping that would be a little bit lower. But then you might get another transportation cost.
Right, so the best thing we can do is all the things we're doing to try to make next year not go this way.
Not to
right?
have this not happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Lathrop.
Yep.
You're
for all the work.
welcome. Yes. So the other thing, and I think you do have it. Actually, I don't know if you do have it, but so Janet Wright, who is our financial consultant who's been working with us. She has taken all of the salaries. So what we have done is rolled up all of our salaries. We have taken into account any people that are retiring, any positions that we're refilling. We have tried to project high in terms of salary. So typically, let's say a teacher comes in, you know, we're projecting like maybe a master step 10 so that we'll know where we are. So we are looking good in terms of our salary budget that we have. Oh, there it is right there, for next year. So we are projecting $55,392,708.10, which is a little bit less than what we had projected with the revised FY25 budget. And this is factoring in a lot of different things, factoring all of the, you know, the percent increases, factoring in any position that we need to fill. And so we're looking at about $256,000 less than what we had projected in terms of salaries.
In the revised.
In the revised, right?
So C is the new, column C is what is the new.
Column
version.
C is the new, correct. And so what this helps us is we know our bottom number isn't going to change. We know it's 62 million, whatever it was, but now we have a very accurate, I know there's a fly. We have a very accurate salary number to be able to help us build in those other cost centers.
And that could potentially be lower if you hire a teacher that comes in on Masters 4 versus Masters 8.
Correct. What it might do is give you a little bit of that reserve money that we've talked about at other times. The other thing that...
So you have a smidge of wiggle room.
A smidge. The other is, you know, so some of the things we're looking at, and this could be scary because when I tell you these numbers, you'll say if we added that up with the 55 that I've already showed you, it's going to get us to the whole 62. But you have to remember tuitions and transportations. We have offsets with circuit breaker and grants, you know, certain special education grants. But what we have now is really concrete numbers. So in tuitions this year, we spent $3,107,000, $3,107,000, a little over $3 million. But we didn't project that. So now we know exactly what we spent this year. And so what we had built into next year's budget was a projection of just $3 million, but we're about $100,000 off.
Are we looking at these numbers?
No, I don't think that, is that there? Did she put that there? I don't think she
It's
put
all
that
right,
there.
just so we
I
don't
have
spend
one, I
time
can
looking
share
for
this.
There's more tabs than that.
Yes, with you. What's the tricky part is transportation. So we have spent $3,713,000 on transportation, but we only have budgeted for $3,286,000. So that definitely is one of the areas that we're going to have to adjust going forward. But what this shows you in the very last column is what we spent year to date. So now we have actual numbers of what we spent on both out-of-district tuitions and transportation this year.
Does the out-of-district tuition money reflect all the expenses this year? I mean, are we extending current contracts at their current cost?
This is just what we spent this year. I'm just giving you a
this is
real, this is
FY24.
FY24. I just
I'm
want you to
sorry.
have a realistic number of what
Thank
we
you.
have spent in FY24.
Got it. Thank you.
There you go.
And then what is this, how does this then look for FY 25 in terms of like,
Same less.
Well, we
you
have
said that
projected, so see, we're only projecting we had only projected 3
Thank
million.
you.
But there are other revenue sources, because if you just took these two things plus the salaries, we'd be out of money.
Right.
We wouldn't have any curriculum or anything. But it's helpful now that we know what we spent this year in order to plan for next year.
Mm-hmm.
And just looking, it's showing that our transportation for this year was, if I'm reading this right, was 3.7.
Correct.
But in the budget's 3.2. So
Correct.
So which do you think that?
No, we spent 3.7, we
Yeah.
only budgeted 3.2.
2 for next year. So should we assume, I mean.
We're gonna have to change that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to figure out how to do the things
Where's
for
the money?
500,000
Right.
less.
It helps us see why we're in a deficit.
Yeah.
Just one important question about it's YTD, year-to-date expended, so it
Mhm.
could go up a little bit more.
Good,
Yeah, so when we do the planning, obviously use the final.
correct.
Right, final
As
number.
close as we could, good. I had her run them today,
Got it, yep, okay.
so that we would know.
Okey-doke.
And then, just
Not enough monies.
budget-wise, the other thing that's in your packet, and this kind of goes to what we talked about in terms of loss, like positions lost or what things might look like. Some people have been concerned about class size, particularly at the elementary level, and what that might look like. So what I shared with you here, hopefully that will come up too, is what the elementary class size looked like this year and then what we're proposing for next year. So we did reduce our classrooms by 3 overall in the district. So Atkinson School had 4 fourth grades this year. One would think that you would roll that up to 4 fourth grades next year, but we're only rolling that up to 3 fifth grades next year. But if you look, the class size for 5th grade next year, the average is 17.7 at Atkinson. It's very appropriate to reduce that. Yeah, so it's there. At Kittredge School, they have 3 first grades this year. Next year, they're only going to have 2 first grades, but again, with 2 first grades, their average class size will be 16.5. And at Thompson School, they had 4 fifth grades. That 5th grade moves on to the middle school, so there's no need to keep that 4th class there.
Do you already know the students that are new students that are registered to come in, or people, or students are like out of district students, or people who are moving here?
We know those that have
that
tell us. Sometimes some people come in and they already register if they're moving, if they know they want to sort of get into the books or get into a class placement or be able to talk to the principal. So we have some of that. We will get move-ins over the summer. And so
And move-outs.
Yeah,
and
so
move-outs.
move-outs, right? So
Move-ins,
usually
move-outs.
the
There'll be a
work-
little bit of that. So what this chart shows you is just the classes and what the class size looks like. We have a couple of, hot spots. Franklin School, 1st grade, is one of the higher grades that we're looking at.
But overall,
Overall, we're staying within the school committee guidelines.
Oh, that too, but we're also 150 students less
We are.
next year.
Yep, we
in
had
elementary.
2,080 this year. We're projecting 1,914 next year.
so does it make sense, let's say for Kittredge, this year there are 45 children in 3 classrooms, and they are going to be in 2nd grade next year, so it's, apparently you expect 2 more children to come in, and so instead of 3 classes, there's going to be 2.5. And the average, is that I'm just wanting to.
Yeah,
do
Kittredge
I
is a little
understand it?
interesting because Kittredge has a split class. They have a 2-3 class and a 4-5. That's
okay.
why you call it a half a class. It's where one of our district programs are, and that's why the class looks like that. But
I wasn't trying to question the half class. I
Yep.
was just trying to see whether this is appropriate to watch.
yes, yeah, so what it looks like for next year. So things that we're looking at is Franklin School. So we also have an interesting, Royal Crest students currently go to Atkinson. That's where they're districted to go. If you know where Royal Crest is and you know where Franklin School is, Royal Crest is right behind Franklin School. So the last few years, we've made an effort to try to offer Franklin School to families, if that's where, because it's there. I think it's something that the school committee is going to need to talk about, because right now it's still Atkinson. So what I've said to families is if they want Atkinson, that is their home district, and they can have Atkinson School. We have rolled up our kindergartners to go to Franklin School next year. So you'll see that's why Franklin's a little bit higher, and Atkinson's a little bit lower. I'm meeting with Principal Clark this week, maybe tomorrow, to talk about this number and what we might want to do or be prepared to do, because you're already your 22 is really where you want to see a 1st grade class.
Yeah, 'cause it's very different sizes between the schools.
Yeah.
Just looking at 1st grade.
Big
we have
schools,
13
it's
in
because of big
Atkinson.
schools and small schools, right? So if you have the opportunity to have 5 classrooms, you actually get more in your class. When you only have 2 or 3, you can't, it's hard to wiggle room. So 1st grade at Atkinson, it's low, right? You could almost move that. We have 3 teachers. You could almost move that to 2. It's late in the year to move to 2. If I'm an Atkinson teacher watching this right now, I'm probably getting out of my pajamas and rushing over because the principal, acting superintendent just said that, and they don't know. So that's, but if you look at it strictly by looking at that, what I might say we do instead is look at we moved all the Royal Crest families to Franklin for first grade. Maybe we want to send a letter to the families at Royal Crest and say, you know, you could go to Atkinson if you'd like to. We have a bus that goes to Atkinson in order to help us even out these numbers in first grade.
Because otherwise, it's one of the larger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to continue to be one of the larger.
Yeah, and frankly,
Class
like
sizes.
the third grade at Atkinson is right on that cusp, having
Correct.
23.
Yeah.
2 classes of 23 is not great, but not absurd.
Right, right.
And if you look at Sargent has large classes too. They've got about 2 23s too.
Yep.
I was going to ask about the 2.5, and you started to explain it. So they do some combinations.
They have a 2-3 classroom and a 4-5 classroom, and that's where our language-based special education program is. And so it's a
okay.
split program in order to sort of co-taught by a general education teacher and a special education teacher. And those numbers are lower to service the needs of the students. And that would be something really great for the new special education director to look at. Is that really the best model for us?
Okay.
And it might be,
Yep.
but that's what something
Okay,
I
got
would
it. Yeah, no,
recommend.
that did jump out at me.
Yeah.
So there's, in fact,
And then the Bradstreet School is Ann Bradstreet, that's our kindergarten. So they are actually seeing an increase. They have 288 students this year. And next year, we screened 309 students going forward. So we're not making any recommendations to, you know, alter any grades at the Bradstreet School. I think they have 15 kindergartens, and we would continue that.
So overall, our number of students enrollment.
Overall, our enrollment has gone down.
But we're seeing more kindergarten, so that's, you know, those
Correct.
kids will follow
Yeah,
through.
yeah. But we have 3, so next year we'll have 3 less classrooms than we have this year. And we were able to do that by either retirement or some movement.
How large are the kindergarten classes that are here?
20.6 is the.
Oh, it's on the
class.
back side,
Yeah.
yeah. So, okay. It's
Yeah.
on the back.
Correct.
so the multi-grade classes, 2 teachers and roughly 20 students.
Just a little bit closer to like 14 to 18 students.
Right.
Not 2 teachers all day, but yes. But, I mean, I just showed this so that families know that we're still, you know, there are some higher ones, but we're still within the range. We watch the numbers closely. I have the principals, every time they get a new student, they have a spreadsheet that they go in, they add that new student, they initial it so that and I monitor it, they monitor it. We'll watch it closely throughout the summer. And if we see, like, if we're seeing a lot more first grade families registering at Franklin, we can say Franklin's closed. They have to go to another school. We have a responsibility to bus them if we do that. Or, you know, come back and share that with you, but we're watching very closely. It's more just informational.
I wonder if not now, or even next year, I wonder if part of what we need to do, and this might be a good time to think about doing this, is when Kittredge is finished, is going, because we did it a few years ago.
Mhm.
We looked at where kids are coming from and and what parts of the town they live in. And we
Yeah.
have to go back and we have to reevaluate our district maps
Yeah.
and make some shifts.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Just 'cause,
Atkinson is
like,
becoming
I
much
remember
lower.
when Atkinson
Yeah, it
was, when my kids started, was almost 400. And like,
Oh, wow.
it was all over 4
Yeah.
at that. I mean, and there was kindergarten there, but their classes were much bigger.
Right,
We just have to see, like, why is that happening in that part of the town?
right. Yeah.
Because we don't, I mean, great for the first grade at Atkinson, but like, there's a certain level, it's not great that we have 13 in the classroom and
23.
23.8 in
No,
another.
it's not,
Yeah.
right.
Right? 23.
So we need to address that.
We need to even things out somehow.
Yeah, yep.
And that brings up a lot of
And
feelings.
because students who are currently in Franklin School first grade are districted to go to that Atkinson, Royal Crest is districted at Atkinson, I think we could probably work on, we've done this, I did it when I was a principal here, sending a letter saying that our class sizes are large, you know, we have a bus that goes to Atkinson, we would like to offer you the Atkinson School.
Yeah, and some people probably like to do that, right?
Yeah,
I
look
would
at the
think.
class, yeah, that could be a.
That is
Yep.
great. And
Parent
with all the
party
work
or-
you've been doing in terms of academic rigor and curriculum that Mrs. Ando has been doing and Ben has been doing across the board with expectations for learning and teaching, and what the curriculum is.
Yes.
The education in each of the buildings is the same, or
Yep.
Yeah.
every school is as great as every other school.
Yeah.
In
Oh,
terms
it's
of the
great.
kids'
All kids
opportunity
are
to
our
learn.
kids,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And then the only other thing is just encouraging our families that we are lots of summer happenings in North Andover. The library and Stevens Memorial Library does a beautiful job. There's lots of activities. It's on our website. It's on the Stevens Memorial website. Our literacy coaches will be sending out an email soon, even though school's ended, but we have some summer activities that they've put together that families can do. So that will be going out, and there's lots of things. Community programs, there's lots of activities. Summer Eats will be happening again this year.
Where are summer eats in particular?
Summer Eats are at the Franklin School, at Atkinson, I believe, or the library. It's posted. We will make sure it's posted on our website. I think it may actually already be posted there.
A postcard went home with
Yeah,
the
with it on
students
there.
too.
I remember it was Franklin. I don't remember the
I
other
remember
schools.
it's
There was other
Franklin. I know. I
schools,
think
you know.
is it the library?
It's been, I feel like it's been library in the past, but I don't know.
Yes.
I remember it made it to be eaten on, consumed on site, so they get
Yeah.
to go and see their friends. I was like, oh, it's a nice
Yes.
social check-in too. They,
Yeah.
they'd be
So
able to
Summer
see
Eats,
their
for people that
friends.
don't know, is when our food services, Erica Murphy and her team, they sort of set up. You can come and get your summer meal, making sure our community is well fed during the summertime.
It's fantastic.
Well, thank you.
I think that's all I have.
All right. So we move to the chair's report. Before we do the reorg, two things. One, we need to vote on Ms. Lathrop's contract, which we have
Contract?
amended.
Yeah, so I move that we accept the slightly amended contract for Ms. Lathrop as acting superintendent and assistant superintendent of teaching and learning. There were some small adjustments that we needed to make.
And corrections.
And I second that.
All right, so we have a motion and a second with the words corrected added, if that's okay?
Yep.
And is there any discussion? If not, we'll vote. Joe?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Alyssa?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, so that is passed. And then, do we want to talk about the holiday, just informally discuss the religious holiday?
We can do it after the
After the
next
reorg? Okay. Well then, it is, first, I would also like to say, I want to thank the committee for putting me in the position of chair for the past year. It's been a little bit more than I bargained for, to say the least, but it was my privilege to serve. I really appreciate the confidence and support I got from everybody from that I've dealt with over the past year, our staff, our administration. But I just want to get that thank you out there. So thank you. And now it is my pleasure to turn over to the most senior member of the committee, who will conduct. You want to sit in the chair here? No. Oh, okay. We'll conduct the.
We don't have titles on our chairs. It's fine.
That's true.
You could sit anywhere you want. So, by policy, at the last regularly scheduled meeting in June, we are obligated to elect from our membership a chairperson, a vice chair, and a clerk, all of whom will hold their respective offices for a term of 1 year or until a successor is elected. Currently, Mr. Brown, thank you so much for your service as chair. Served as chair, I have been vice chair, and Ms. Koenig has been the clerk, but all three positions are now up to be filled again. A majority of the members of the school committee, which we have, is a quorum. I am the one who is the senior member of the committee according to length of service, so I run the process. And then once a chair for the selection of a new chairperson, once that has been solidified, then the new chair will run the selection procedure for the vice chair and the clerk. Everyone understand? We good? Alrighty. So I will open up nominations for the office of chairperson.
So I'd like to nominate Alyssa Koenig to be the new chair of the
And I
committee.
will second. Dave B. Joe Hess. Are there other nominations?
And do you accept the nomination?
Do you accept?
I accept the nomination.
Discussion.
It's a great idea.
I concur. That's a wonderful idea. It's not great. It's wonderful. Seeing no other nominations, any more discussion? We'll move to a vote. Mr. Brown?
I vote yes.
Ms. Koenig?
Yes.
Mr. Moskovich?
Yes.
Ms. Cormier.
Yes.
I forgot his name. Yes. And Mr. Hicks, I will vote yes. So congratulations, Ms.
Congratulations.
Cody. 5-0. You are now our chair. You are
you very
welcome to
much.
run the meeting from there, or you can come on up.
What would you like?
Take
Make
your
the
name tag
switch.
with
Do
you.
it. Do it.
We'll take the switch.
All right.
We'll do it.
I have now fulfilled my official
So you
duties
did,
as
yeah.
senior member of the committee.
All right.
I want to see that thunder and lightning outside.
It's a little scary out there.
I was just hoping that the electricity didn't go off.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
there you go.
Well,
The air's
we're
already
getting
off,
hotter in
right?
here.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Don't jinx this, Joe,
Do you want
please.
your name tag?
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
All right. So moving on with our reorganization, we have elections for the vice chair. Do we have any nominations for
Yeah.
vice chair?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I'll vote. I would like to nominate Mr. Hicks to be vice chair.
I will second.
Okay. Any other nominations?
I will accept the nomination.
All right. Any other nominations? Any discussion? All right. Well, I would be honored to have Mr. Hicks as vice chair. So let's go ahead and take a roll call vote. Ms. Cormier?
Yes.
Mr. Hicks?
Yes. As my mom always said, if you don't vote for yourself, you will.
Mr. Moskovich?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
And I will also vote yes.
Yay.
Congratulations. Vice Chair Hicks. All right, moving on to the clerk, position of clerk. Do I hear any nominations for the position of the clerk? It's not everybody jump at once for clerk.
Not nominated. Oh.
Oh, well,
I don't mind doing it.
I was
I'm
going
happy
to
to
say,
do it.
I will do it too if you, but if you
I'm
prefer.
not-
Well, that's good.
I'm sorry, do I hear any nominations?
I'll nominate Ed Moskovich.
Okay.
So before I accept, you should just give me like a 30-second tutorial. I think what you do is you check the minutes that are taken by Michelle, and you do take the minutes at executive session.
Yes, so at executive session, you'll be taking all of the minutes, you'll transcribe them and send them to Michelle to be voted on the next executive session. She will transcribe meeting minutes from public session, from the video, which she'll send to you to review, make any necessary changes, and send it back to her.
She also will attend the retreat and do those minutes for us. The one meeting she does not attend is the one preceding town meeting.
Town meeting, yes. So, well, you're on your own for those ones.
Okay.
I'll second.
Mr. Moskovich, would you accept the nomination?
I would.
All right. Any other nominations? Any discussion? All right. Ms. Camere?
Yes.
Mr. Hicks?
Yes.
Mr. Moskovich?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
And I will also vote yes. All right. So congratulations to our new clerk. All right.
In the words that Gilbert once put in the mouth of Pooh-Bah, modified rapture.
So I'll just really quick, I want to say it is my honor to be elected by my fellow committee members to serve in the capacity as chair. I know coming into chair, there's definitely a time of uncertainty. As a parent and an advocate, I do so with a perspective of optimism in this coming year. I know we have a lot of moving pieces at the moment. We've had a lot going on with results of the special education review in the past year. We had the equity audit, and we're working on getting a committee together to review that. We have had this deficit that we've been working on, and we've had reviews going on with that, working to overcome this budget deficit, waiting on the investigation and audits, and implementing a finance subcommittee. But this year I'm hopeful that we can use what we learn, continuing to learn, to move our district forward in a positive direction. It's not been easy these past few months, and I can't guarantee that it's going to be any easier anytime soon, but I know that as a committee we're dedicated to working for the betterment of our district and for all our students, and working to increase transparency. But we are incredibly thankful for the patience, dedication, and hard work of the administration, teachers, and staff as we navigate these unprecedented times together. All right, so let's move on with our agenda. We are on to the school building committee updates.
The other part of the chair's report that Mr. Brown was alluding to was just a quick discussion about an upcoming policy proposal that we are going to make. We heard, and I forgot to include it on the agenda previously, so my apologies for that. We heard during public comment from Mahak about the need to update the policy. It wasn't clear to everyone involved what holidays should be included and the steps that should be taken to make sure that students are recognized for and given the opportunity to celebrate with their family. So she sent Ms. Lathrop and I some proposals. Ms. Lathrop has done some research and also written some new language for the policy that I've looked at, and we'll share it with the committee coming soon and have a first read next time. But I think it's a necessary change to make sure that all students are recognized and given the opportunity to celebrate appropriately.
I would agree, and I think it's the same reflection as happening across employers across the country. I mean, with my employer does the same thing. We're now in our calendars. We have every holiday for every country we have employees is on my calendar with a description, 1 or 2 sentences about what it is and where it's celebrated. So as I book meetings, I know where people are located, so I don't make that mistake. No one has to come to me and tell me it's their holiday. So I think as we go forward with this policy, as much as we can do to remove the burden from the student, and make it an education opportunity is key.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And the language she spoke about this, she thinks she worries about kids abusing and putting the onus on them to take the responsibility. And I understand her perspective. I think you're right. It should be actually easier for students.
There should be no burden.
To
someone to recognize a religious holiday.
I'd like to add something that's because it's affected my family directly in the past in this district. Right, that there's one thing to have a policy, then there's the other part of it is enforcement.
Yes.
And we've not historically done a great job in North Andover about making sure staff's aware of that, of even the policy that exists now. And I personally had to deal with that. So it really, I could not agree more that it's important that it not be the placement of burden shouldn't be on the student and their family, should be on the district to make sure that everybody's aware of what our policy is, our staff.
Yeah.
And
We've been working really hard this year on that as well. So much to what Mr. Hicks just said, one of the things that we did was we created all of the holidays, much what you just said, Kelly. And then so I just hot linked them all to give every principal a little bit information about what those what they are, religious or ethnic observances, not holidays, sorry. We've had some great teachers step forward who have also helped support that, and some slideshows have gone out. The high school has done a great job in supporting that. Our ESL, our LPAC has also been helping us with that in terms of sending it out, our 2 parent liaisons. But I think the principals, what I see, I get an opportunity to read all of the principals' newsletters, and they're really trying to make an effort to share any of these holidays and talk about it and remind the staff. And I think the staff has been really receptive. I find that they are really interested in learning about their students and what they're, who they are and what they're observing, and what it means a little bit to them and to their students. So I think the staff has been really receptive to that this year, and the principals have done a great job of trying to share that information with them, and then just a little bit of education. And we've seen the high school's done some great jobs. They went there through Diwali, and they had some really nice displays. The middle school had some really great displays. A lot of the elementary schools did multicultural evenings this year. So I think we're moving along. I think some of the things that we're trying to do is really think about a little bit broader. So what the policy, when you see, will look like is being mindful of field trips when you schedule a field trip, being mindful of, you're not excluded from a sporting event or a club if you can't try out on the day that the tryouts. It's not that necessarily has to change, but, an exception for that. And that, if an award, if a student could get a certain award, but if they missed, I don't know, we don't necessarily do attendance awards, but if there was, but they shouldn't be excluded from an attendance award if they're participating in a religious or ethnic holiday. And being a little bit more mindful of those kinds of things, and thinking about our graduations. And here it also says about not starting school on a day, thinking about that when we plan the calendar.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a great way of respecting and honoring our religious and ethnic diversity in our community among our students.
Yep. So the goal is next time we will bring forward, and we can share it in advance, so for you to see an official first read at our next meeting for everyone to have a chance to review and public comment, and then we would vote on it subsequent meeting during a second read.
Great.
And then again, thank you to Mahak for bringing that to our attention and for doing that research and speaking tonight. Love that students are involved in that way.
Yes, and it's always great seeing a Slick Pro project in action.
Yeah, and this is. She wasn't in 8th grade this year. This was her.
She's in ninth
She's
grade.
continuing
Yeah,
it.
this is she's
Continuing
been
it.
keeping at it.
All right, so going on to school building committee updates, we have North Andover Middle School. What do we have going on, Mr. X?
A couple of like construction updates. So hard to read. They have continued the installation of electrical conduits in the crawl space and boxes on the first and second floors of the addition, and there's been some more rough into boxes. The continued installation of the ductwork for the HVAC on the first and second floor. In a week or two, they will start the first turn on of the HVAC system to start doing that. They've been doing the fire protection between the old building and the new building, the first like 30 feet of it has to be fire sealed in a different way. So they've been spraying all the stuff, and they've been putting up the sprinklers and all that, and that's been great. Windows are starting to go in. Rough-in for the plumbing work has been continuing. Painting on the second floor has begun. So a lot of really great stuff. Now that school is out, there will be some other things happening over the summer that you can't do with kids in the building. So we have some removal of some stuff. They're going to be ripping up some carpets, and construction will continue. But of note, Ms. Lathrop reminded me, the 8th grade, the intent is to have the 8th grade not in the 8th grade wing this year in September. They'll actually come back to school and be in the new addition because it should be ready for occupancy by then. So teachers were packing up and getting ready for that move. And that means like soon the current 8th grade wing will have carpets ripped up, and they're going to start working on installing new HVAC units into those classrooms. And then after a couple months, the 8th graders will move back, and the 7th grade is going to pack up and move into the new addition, and they'll have new carpets ripped up and new HVAC, and then the 6th grade will do it. All before the end of December, knock on wood. So we are on schedule and under budget for the addition portion, and so we're on schedule to start the renovation portion, but as renovations go, we're going to knock on wood that it happens under budget, but on schedule as well. The last thing that will happen is once all the kids are back in their classrooms, there's some things that will happen in the auditorium, new carpet and new curtain, and I think some new lights. And that's supposed to be late January. I hope it happens by then, but we do have some wiggle room at the end of that project because we are planning on utilizing the new building very differently the following school year. So we'll be okay there. But because there's construction happening in the building, the full year employees are not going to be at the building this summer. The secretaries and the administrative assistants and the others will be working elsewhere because they don't want to be in that space. At the high school?
High school.
At the high school.
We've offered they come here, but they chose the high school.
Yeah, so if you need to get in contact.
Does the air conditioning work better?
I may be working at the high school, but it's the air conditioning.
So if you need things specifically from the administrative assistants and the full year staff at the middle school, that don't go to the building, but call and they'll get you up to the high school where you can see them.
Email is a great way.
An email, yeah. So that's all I have there. But some really great things happening at the building to get ready for renovation.
Great. All right. Any update on Kittredge, Mr. Brown?
Yes. So all of the sort of very preliminary stuff has happened. There have been 3 Zoom workshops with stakeholders, all different stakeholders. Those are completed, and the owner project manager is putting together a report on that. Not the owner project manager, the MASC folks will be putting together a comprehensive report on that. We also had a public session where we got input from the public on that. That went a little bit awry.
We were Zoom bombed.
There was a Zoom bomber. Apparently, and so, but they're writing up notes. Because I asked if I could see the recording of that, and they're like, no, they're not putting that out there. So they're going to they're going to do a write up instead. It'd be more pleasant to read. So that's going to happen very shortly. And then I think we have if our next meeting in the next week or so. It's in my I forget exactly what it is, but it's coming up. So that's moving along. Great.
We have a big deadline of July 18th for the MSBA for the educational plan, and we are on track for that.
Okay, good.
Are there any other deadlines coming up after that we?
That's the one that's the most on my mind.
I wasn't sure if is it then a little bit before the next one, because there was a flurry of things that had to happen last fall, and then there's been a long delay.
Yeah.
This
is the next phase for MSBA, so we have to present this to see if we get to the next part.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, moving on. We have just new business now. We have a first read of the proposed Chromebook program fees.
Yes, you have that in your packet, and I was remiss this evening. I should have introduced Mike Grant. Mike is our technology director. He's sitting in to help support technology here tonight, but also here to answer any questions if we have them about the proposed Chromebook fees. So just as a reminder, we are asking for proposed fees for grades 6 through 12, a yearly fee of $25, which will help us cover the cost for the students for the one-to-one Chromebook program. The fee will cover basic repairs due to wear and tear of devices and traveling to and from school. If a Chromebook is lost, we're proposing that the parent or guardian is responsible for the replacement of $250. If it's stolen, a parent or guardian must file a police report within 5 school days of the reported incident. Otherwise, we'll consider it lost. So if it's stolen, then we would not institute, obviously, that $250. And then the same, if it's not working, bring it in, we'll replace it. But if they lose it, there's a cost of $25 to replace a charger. We also, in the note to go home, we would provide parents with a sample if they wanted to purchase their own charger. If they wanted to have extras for the students, they could do that. And then we're also asking parents this year to purchase a padded sleeve for the Chromebook to help save on the wear and tear. But again, Mr. Grant is here if you'd like to have.
Mr. Grant, how many students do we have in 6 to 12?
Good question. I'd have to look it up.
We have that other tape.
It's on that other page.
Was it?
Oh, I thought that was just the younger kids.
Was 6 to 12 on there too?
No, I thought it was just elementary.
Oh,
Just elementary. But that was about 2,000. We have how many in the district? 4,500?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
it's
2,500?
2,500, approximately.
Thank you. And Ms. Lathrop, well, that's a good amount of money to bring in. We, as a school committee, we get to vote on whether or not there's a fee.
Correct.
The implementation that you outlined previously about where Chromebooks will be deployed and who will be part of the one-on-one program and who will get carts and all that, that's more operational and that comes under your purview.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
So we're not voting on that, we're just voting on
You're
whether or
voting on
not
the
we
fee.
should charge a $25 fee.
Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure we are clear on who does what.
Thank you.
Further question on the fee, Mike. So don't we also have costs on the server side to maintain all these? I mean, I think some people would question that, in my former role as chair, I got some questions about the fee.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially they were saying, hey, if I'm good to my Chromebook, why do I have to pay this fee to support the people who are not good? Is essentially the question.
Yep.
But I think that the point, I think the point of the fee is to basically handle costs that are system-wide, right? Not specific to that unit. Am I right?
Correct. I mean, there's a lot of costs associated with maintaining the entire network infrastructure within the district. We're spending about $200,000 this year to upgrade all of the network equipment at the high school, which has not been updated in about 14 years, which I've continued to put that off in order to maintain the one-to-one program, because we end up losing about 600 Chromebooks a year due to loss, theft, damage, just wear and tear. So there was no way to be able to upgrade that equipment during this time that we were providing the one-to-one program. So now with my budget being cut, and I needed to continue upgrading the equipment at the high school, because usually it's on a 7-8 year replacement schedule, like for network equipment. And it predates me. I've been doing this job 11 years, and it's been prior to me arriving, so.
Yeah, Wi-Fi's gone through a few letters in those 11 years.
The Wi-Fi we have upgraded. It's the network switches in all the closets. We have 18 closets at the high school. There's about 37 network switches that need to be upgraded.
Right.
So that's part of it. Maintaining all the Google accounts. So we were free when we first started with the Google workspace, but during COVID, in order to get some of the additional features that were needed for for at-home remote learning, we needed to upgrade our Google accounts. And once you upgrade to a paid version, it's very difficult to take away a lot of the features that we've become used to. So that's at a cost of about $40,000 per year just to pay for the Google accounts.
Right.
So there's a lot that goes into it, and then the budget doesn't always cover everything that.
So the point is that people should realize that it's not just
for
per
that
unit.
device.
It's the system that needs the support.
It's like most colleges charge like a $200 technology fee, and that goes towards upgrading and maintaining the equipment and the Wi-Fi and having access throughout the district.
Would it be better? Oh, I'm sorry.
And $25 I felt was a reasonable, affordable amount that most parents could afford, and if they can't, they can always reach out to us, and we can work with parents.
Thank you. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be fair to say that, given what you presented, what the superintendent presented earlier, we haven't quite balanced next year's budget, and so we've had to raise fees in a number of areas. And just as you said before, if we don't raise the fee, then what else are we going to cut? And I think people just need to understand that modest increases everywhere is probably better than, there really is no reasonable alternative to it.
So I have a question. So has there been any feedback from teachers in the elementary schools where the individual students won't have them taken home? I keep hearing comments about, the students need these, they need the computer, it's going to impact their learning. Has there been any kind of common voice from the elementary school teachers in terms of, do they think this will have a negative impact to learning?
I'm happy to answer that. I just want to say that you're kind of talking about the fees right now for 6 through 12, and that's sort of like I think Mr. Hicks said program, but I'm happy to answer that because there has been some, so I don't want to get it confused. We're not charging elementary students fees.
Yeah, correct.
Yes, well, yes, we did hear from teachers, and we heard from some families in the elementary school about that this is not, that it will be a hardship, or it'll be a change that can be difficult to adjust to, and I've recognized that. This is one of the pieces where when I talked earlier about, I wish I had known a little bit more, and that was sort of that trying to make thoughtful decisions, save student-facing positions. And so if you remember, we talked originally about also sharing Chromebooks in the middle school and the high school. And from a lot of that feedback we listened to, our teaching union came to us with some of their concerns. We were able to sit down with them and talk through this, and they were all right, that really the priority was 6 through 12. In elementary, we're asking that the elementary staff work with their building administration to be able to share. And I was thinking about it too, so there's a cart for every 2 classrooms, but that doesn't mean that if, that we all teach 4th grade and we want more than one, we couldn't go to the 3rd grade and say, could we wheel your cart up to 4th grade? We need to use it a little bit more. We want to be able to have it. That sort of flexibility within the school. We say every 2 classes, but if you think about it as the school, you could potentially get the whole grade on a Chromebook if you wanted to, but it's sharing. One of the areas that has raised concerns is library. We've designated 5 Chromebooks for the library. Library does teach some of our technology literacy skills in terms of typing. What that will look like is something we're still working on for next year. But it doesn't preclude the library teacher from working with the grade level team saying, I need them to bring Chromebooks to library this time. It's not perfect, but I think, as Mr. Moxford just said, it's the best we thought we could do and not have to take a cut in another place. Obviously, our goal would be, if we could, to be able to bring back, if we think that's okay, that's what we want. Try it. Maybe we'll find that this works really well. Maybe we'll find our kids have been too dependent. I think there are some parents, I try to look at social media, there's some parents that are thrilled that their child's not coming home with a Chromebook this summer. So there's some of that. We do have things like ST Math and Lexia, and we have some other programs that we have used, and we'll have to readjust how we use those programs. But we feel prepared to be able to do that.
That's great. Thank you. That so it's fantastic that you were able to kind of incorporate the feedback from the teachers and adjust and incorporate that feedback in to make sure that the students are still getting the best experience. That they
It's
need.
not
So
great.
that's
It's not perfect, and not everybody's happy. But we feel, and we're not opposed to, if we find that we are able to give the libraries 10, then we'll give the libraries 10 next year.
The elementary school students now, they have one-on-one, and we just can't do it because it would be too expensive. I see. Okay.
And we went from not doing it and having less carts per school and per classroom to doing one-on-one very, very quickly during COVID, because we had access to a lot of monies to do that. But whether or not that's sustainable,
Well, the COVID money is
not there.
It's not there.
Would it be better than, instead of calling this a Chromebook program or Chromebook fees, just call it technology fee? Since
That's what it says. If you, the third bullet, a $25 technology fee.
Okay, I was just looking at the
top says
top.
Chromebook fee, sorry.
Thank you for pointing that out. Just because recognizing that the things that we do for technology are like providing email accounts and access to all the different software programs that we now subscribe to. Like some of the software programs are very expensive each year for kids. And considering the number of kids we have using them, they very, very expensive. And we want to be able to do those. So I think this modest money is
I'm going to
important.
interrupt the discussion for just one moment.
Yep.
I'm going to turn it over to the meeting over to Vice Chair Hicks. I need to take my duties as a mother.
Yes.
I have a son who is home and about to leave from the Coast Guard, and he's going to A school, and I won't see him for 6 months.
Oh, you will see yourself.
Please
And
leave.
he's about to leave. So,
Please
and
leave.
I haven't seen him. So I'm going to turn it over. So
No,
I
not a
will
problem.
Excuse myself.
Wish him the best for all of us.
Yes.
Drive safe.
Yeah, there's more than just Chromebooks wrapped up in the technology
Yes.
that we do with kids, and it comes with a cost, and this is going to help. And of course, we know that this could be a hardship for some families, and that we will always work with them to make it not as much as we can. So.
And I think kind of focusing on the fact it's a technology fee versus the Chromebook program answers one of the other kind of comments I heard a lot of around is, why can't we just do insurance? Well, this isn't about the device itself. So that really addresses and kind of helps connect to that together, that this is a technology, well, no one likes it, but it is a technology fee, not, not just take care of your laptop.
Right, and we've looked into a number of the different insurance plans, and they become overly complicated and very difficult to manage. A lot of them require you to package up the Chromebook, send it off. We do all of our own repairs. So we repair screens, we replace keyboards, we do all of that in-house. So to now have to start becoming a shipping and receiving, it would be a major shift in that. So we maintain and manage and repair all of our own devices. And if it's unrepairable, shipping it off somewhere, they're not going to be able to do anything with it either. So
It's in a sense we're self-insured, and that's practice. Lots of educational institutions follow. Merrimack follows that exact process.
Yep.
And I think one of the other things, just kind of keying off the fact, this technology program, I know my daughter is one who will not have a one-on-one laptop anymore, but so she felt that and kind of brought it up to me. I won't have it anymore. And I'm like, well, what is it that you're missing? And she's like, well, I'd like to do this and that at home. I'm like, well, let's reach out to your teacher. And she still has access to all of those things. So she can go, and with the login and getting that information. Yeah. So, and I realize that may be a burden for some families if they don't have computers at home. But those that do, there is at least some of that continued access based on that technology that's available.
So, any other discussion? Alrighty, so we will move on to the first read of the Special Education Advisory Committee part. So I lost that piece of paper. We included the draft that we had shared previously about, this is about what the makeup of the committee will be. It's up on the screen. We talked a lot about, and I think we've talked a lot about with this committee about makeup and too big, too little, who are the voices that we need to have there, and I think that's all really important that we consider. We want to make sure that it's big enough to include all the important stakeholders, but not so big that it becomes unwieldy and unproductive, and trying to find where that balance is hard. Also, now with the departure of Ms. Bacuzzi and the arrival at some point of a new executive director of special education, I think having them be a part of this in the makeup also matters in terms of how the two things all eventually work together.
What happened to the principal? I thought we had changed the bottom. It says humanities director, STEM director. I thought we said 2 members of administrative team.
Yes.
Right? Did we change that?
Well, I submitted a suggested change to put the principal back in, and I just wanted to say that this is almost final, but not quite.
Yeah.
And there may be some minor changes next.
And I think it's important.
Oh, sorry, if I could just finish that.
Sorry.
That we haven't had a chance to discuss the changes that were suggested. I understand you are understandably busy. This maybe isn't the most important use of your time, but.
No, I'm fine. I thought we had said a principal the last time, and it looks like it just, maybe this, I'm not sure how that didn't get on this one, but.
Things happen.
Yeah.
That's okay.
So do you guys have another working group meeting, or?
Well, we've been honoring the pressure on the acting superintendent's time, so we haven't had
I think we were
another
hoping to
meeting.
get this set before we.
Yeah.
I'm
Before
sorry?
we
I
wanted to get
think
this
that
set
the
before we
committee
take
was
next
waiting
steps.
for this to be set, and then the committee would get back together to send out like a Google form to people who might want to be
okay.
the ABAC, the middle school, the high school.
Mhm.
So we're waiting for this, is what I think the committee's waiting for.
I see. Okay.
You're waiting for.
I think the special education advisory
Working
committee working group is waiting for this to be approved before there's
Yeah.
a next meeting.
The next step is to
Yes,
create the committee
yes.
with these members, and then once we do that, we can move on to step 2, which is to do the learning around digging even deeper into the Urban Collaborative report and other
information.
And then we have to do this one before we can do
Right.
that
The
one.
other thing we had talked about was, it said 1 member of select board and 1 member of finance. Now, I don't know where you landed on that, but we had talked about there being like an advisor. They wouldn't necessarily have to be on all the meetings, but they'd be an advisory, so there was somebody that thinking that there could be financial implications in wanting them there.
Mhm. And maybe they're a non-voting member.
Something like that.
Well,
like a
my
liaison.
suggestion was that we look for members of those committees who are also parents,
Yes.
which would solve that problem.
So my question is, will there be like a slight revision of this that we'll vote on next time? Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but the idea then is that this won't actually be voted on by the school committee? Not this. Is that what you were suggesting, that the little advisory group would present this to the committee and the committee would then vote on the final version? Or were you thinking that we would somehow get together, or as Pam said, just with Google Docs, agree on
The
a
thing that
version
we
of this?
should, the thing we should vote on next time is the composition, and then fill the spaces, create the committee with those positions filled, and then the committee then takes the next steps of doing the work as outlined in number 2 at the top.
Well, but what about changes that that may have been suggested to what the work is?
We'll update this list with some of those changes, and we can talk more about them next time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
fine.
I've included switching humanities director and STEM director to 2 members of admin,
If that's,
potentially.
one being a principal. I mean, I think people
Yes, I
said
think-
clearly they wanted 1 principal at
So
least to
one-
be on it. So maybe
that
3
can be
members.
combined. And then perhaps the 1 member of Select Board and Finance Committee is a non-voting member or a liaison.
Well, unless we find members who are also parents.
Mhm.
And we can, the other way to do it, if you want to make some, it says represents all stakeholders, includes at minimum the following. We can make it, instead of at minimum, it could be a suggestion. We don't have to have that qualification. Could include, we could change that to could include, so that we're not inadvertently at some point breaking our rules.
Which might make sense, because there's the initial setup of the committee.
Yeah.
Right, and then as it might change over time, right,
Right.
as terms of the needs. Because, right, I think, what does this total up to? 18?
Right,
Two
and like,
liaisons?
and I understand the importance of putting the word minimum, so to make sure that we're not shortchanging stakeholders, but also in being the practical person that I am, having could include, like, then if we know we will do our best to fulfill all the positions as best we can, but once in a while there might be
A vacancy.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
but I could argue this the other way around, that if it's too big, it's cumbersome.
Right.
And so I'm not sure I would be comfortable with changing this to the minimum. I might even want maximum.
a maximum.
But I would be willing to compromise with you on
Could
not
include.
putting in minimum.
For different reasons. I think the goal here is we want to identify all the stakeholders and make sure that we get a good outlook and are as comprehensive as possible in this group, and making sure that we hear all the voices. And if it's a big group, we might not be able to get down to the work that we need to do to then make the recommendations that we want to get to as well. And we have to like sort of toggle between those two things.
Right.
We all have the same intent here, but like what the impact that how it outplays is, I think, important to
And I
consider.
think the other is that you should take a look at the outline next steps. So, advising that the advisory committee will present to the school committee at a public school committee meeting not less than once per quarter to update the school committee. The subcommittee shall post agendas and meeting schedules in advance. Like, this is what we're proposing that the committee does, and is this acceptable to the school committee?
Yeah. And happy to hear some suggestions on that as well.
Yep.
Now or next time?
It can be right
Yeah,
now. It
I
can
think
be,
that makes sense, right? Once a
Yeah.
quarter. I think there
it can be now. It can be via email to
Michelle
Michelle
Okay.
or
or to
Alyssa.
Alyssa, and then we can continue the discussion next time too.
Yeah, and number 5 makes sense, because that's what we talked about with making it the advisory committee, is that we would run the same as open meeting, which is agendas and minutes and public and things like that. So I think this puts it in writing, so it's clear that remains the intent.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Right, but as an advisory committee, it's not required.
not
to do
required,
it.
but we're
required.
saying we're going to do it. That's the point. And we're putting it in writing that's what we're doing, because that was one of the
If
conversations
they
we
didn't
all
do
had.
it, there was a mistake. It wouldn't be a violation of
Yes.
open meeting law.
Right.
But we
There's-
want to also commit to doing things in the best way possible.
Mhm.
Well, this was the agreement that we all made.
Mhm.
And here it's just codified, which seems like a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other initial thoughts now, or we can.
I'm just wondering if we ought to, or maybe one of their first actions should be to craft a mission statement.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's
Wait a
important
minute,
foundational
would you
work.
do that first, or wouldn't you do that after you'd talked and done all the things you're gonna do to learn about stuff?
If you look at number 3, 3B says the advisory committee will work within the community and other stakeholders to establish
The
the
vision.
vision for
There
the
you
North
go.
Andover Public Schools, putting what's best for children at the forefront of this vision. So the committee would go out and seek input to be able to create that vision.
Right.
And mission
There has to be
statement.
some
Yeah.
sort of happening at the same time, but there has to be some learning before you can do a vision.
Yeah.
But you need a vision before you can go too far.
Yeah, you test it, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, the reason we're doing this is really captured in number 2, right?
Yes.
We got this input from the Urban Collaborative. We want to take action on it.
Yeah. We need to figure out what and how and when.
Yeah. Okay.
Is there anything in here, will that come later, about how or if they want to, the advisory committee measures themselves in terms of kind of success or not? Is that appropriate for something like this? I know when we were looking at the Urban Collaborative presentation, there was a lot of, okay, we're looking at this, so we're here, we want to be there. What are all these things? That's part of what spurred
I think that
this?
might evolve.
Might
I
evolve,
think the
okay.
committee has to
All
get
right.
together based
Okay.
on their vision.
And the presentations to us would be about progress and trajectory, so I
Okay.
would expect them to include, my vision of what a presentation should include, like what you're trying to do and how to go.
Okay,
Like,
this is
without
what-
that, I would feel like it would be an inadequate presentation.
Okay.
Other thoughts? We'll make those.
I'm just going to say, I'm glad to see we're made great progress and we're moving
Yeah.
towards getting this done.
And we want, as was alluded to before, we want to be thoughtful and deliberate, but not slow, and also not too fast. We want to be like all those things, and there's a lot of different pressures on to do it right. So, yes. suggestions, I'll capture or I'll send my notes to Michelle to capture and update the document, and then any other thoughts you have, please forward to her or to Alyssa, and then we can discuss next time. And we'll be voting on committee makeup, and we'll make sure it's clear in terms of like what we are voting on next time.
Awesome.
All right, moving on, public comments. You're a member of the public today, so do you have any comments?
Juliette Darmon, 42 Clarendon Street. I just have one quick question about this subcommittee. And my question is it common practice for a select board member or finance committee member to be part of a special education subcommittee? That's my question. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Seeing no other public comment, Chair will entertain a motion to
I move to adjourn. Oh, no.
You're okay. Mr. Brown has made a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
It's been seconded, not debatable. We'll move to a vote. Ms. Cormier?
Yes.
Mr. Moskowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Hicks votes yes. We are adjourned at 8:56.